alaikum wa rahmatullah. So thank you very much for being here today. Brother Tawsif Sahib talk about honey, and I'll be talking about honeybee. So it's pretty similar, but the honeybee produce normally the honey, as you all know that. So I'll be talking about a very specific behavior on that we have been observing on honeybee, and it related to the decision making inside of a honeybee hive. How the bees are making decision, important decision to survive. Like, let's have an example here. We are maybe around 200, 100 person, and we would like to vote for something. We'll have a lot of discussion together, and it will be tough to reach one final decision. Maybe we will need many hours. Everybody has his own opinion, own view, but we have leaders here, moderators and leaders that will help us and organize all our community, basically. So imagine if we are talking about thousands of bees living together inside of a honeybee hive, how they will make decision, and that's what I'll be treating, only a very particular behavior. So from the Holy Quran, we know first that bees are insects, and the Holy Quran has mentioned 8 different insects, and the most two important insects are the honey and the ants. And we've got 2 surah from the Quran named on behalf of these 2 insects, Surah An-Nahl and Surah An-Naml. The other insects, the mosquito, butterfly, etc., they are mentioned in the Holy Quran, but we don't have a name, principal name of the surah. So this is supposed to draw our attention that these 2 insects are very important, and that's why 2 surahs has been are carrying the name of this insect, the bees and the ants. And we know from a scientific point of view that these 2 insects, especially the bees, are the highest socially organized insects we know till now. Brother Tawsif mentioned Surah An-Nahl, وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ. I'll just take the best explanation from At-Tafsir Al-Kabir from Hadrat Muslih Ma'ud radiallahu anh, explaining in general about this surah. Bee were mentioned in a surah that carries the name of An-Nahl and deals with major subjects of our aqidah, believing in one God, etc. And that means that Allah Ta'ala, the revelation is that Allah Ta'ala revealed to the bees their miraculous way of living. And from that few last word, we understand like a very important sect of science, which is the honeybee behavior. So from here, if we understand the behavior of this bee, we will understand how Allah Ta'ala did the revelation of the bees and what He has revealed to these bees. So we have to distinguish first very quickly between bee and honeybee. We've got like around 30,000 different species of bees. But what we know, what we know or what we see with the beekeepers is only the second photo at the left side. This is the honeybee that produced the bees, the domestic honeybee, let's say. But beside that, we've got around 30 to 35 different species, different species of bees. So it's important to know that. The domestic honeybees, we've got 28 different subspecies. These bees are the bees that we see around the world in boxes that beekeepers is using to produce honey and other bee products. We've got different varieties around the world. I just took some example, the Carnica subspecies, the Ligustica, and the Syrian subspecies, and the European subspecies, the black one in the middle. Ah, that's cool. Okay, so we've got here the European subspecies. They call it the black honeybee subspecies. So all these subspecies, they are distributed around the world, and we count nowadays 28 different subspecies of honeybee that has been domesticated, means the bees that we see with the beekeeper in boxes. Okay, what we have inside of this hive, in fact. Inside of this hive, we've got three main members. Each hive from this one contain only one queen, so one leader. We can't have two presidents or two khalifa, or we have one khalifa only and one leader. And this is the queen size, bigger. We've got the main worker. They are female but unable to lay eggs, and they are the power of the colony. So basically they perform most of the duty. And in some period of time, we can see some drone just to ensure the reproduction of the beehive. There are normally 100, 200 drones per hive, and 1,000, maybe 60 to 100,000 worker bee and only one queen. That's what we see inside of a honeybee hive. I'll talk about the swarming. Swarming is the behavior of reproducing. So a beehive, once it is full, like this one, once it is totally full, there is no more space, we will see, the worker will initiate new queen cells. You see it here. And the queen will lay one egg in it, and this queen cell will produce new queens. And once the new queens is outside of the alveoli, the queen cell, so they will not stand together, and what happens is that this new queen will take a part of the worker, or soldiers, we call them the soldiers, and she will leave with, or the old queen, she will leave the hive. I've got a small video here to show you the swarm. So here we can see a swarm. We can see that coming out from this hive with a very high number, maybe 10,000, 20,000 bees, and they are leaving the house to reproduce. Basically, they are splitting again, so to do another hive. That's what we call swarm. Queen normally. See here in the sky, you can see very well that it's a very intense number of bees. And what will happen is go together, and they will gather around the queen. They will follow the queen and gather temporarily on a branch or on any area that will give them some time to discuss the new deal of finding. Once the swarm has settled, you will see something like a swarm, big swarm, thousands of bees on a brain, tree brain or whatever, waiting and doing something mysterious that I'll talk about. Here we can see that it has almost gathered, and the final feature we will see is this one. So basically, that's the final feature. The swarm is ready here. The swarm, in that condition here, they will discuss and debate where we need to go now for our permanent home. Normally, the beekeeper shake this in a box and pluff, you stay here, I decide, you don't decide, I'll keep you here. That's the artificial way. But in the nature, bees will stand with that. Talk about this kind of debates. The first thing that's gonna happen is that this swarm will out bees to go and start looking for permanent home. They have conditioned these bees for permanent home. Like us, you know, we need big salon, or this high, this whatever, everybody likes something. But for the bees, these bees, they will like to have a home that the cavity of the home is around 40 liter, high from the ground 6 meter, and big door oriented to the south, etc., etc. So these bees, they produce a debate on the frame, on the swarm. That's the swarm. On the swarm. So let's assume that these bees went and visit this new home, a potential good home, and the other one went to another direction. These bees scout will come back to the swarm, and with the language of the bees, they will indicate the red one is on favor of this house, and the blue one on favor on that house. So basically, they will debate and present the exact location of the new house they have been finding. So other bees, other scouts will go to the same location and see and come back and vote with their vote and give their voice to either one of these new houses or location. And at the end, a majority of the bees will go and visit, and they will decide, oh no, we prefer this location. In that example, this cavity. So we have much more blue indicating that this direction, this house is good, this. And at the end, democracy will take over. So this swarm will decide on the majority of the vote. The scout bees, experienced bees, have decided. What we conclude from that, I just need more minute to conclude that. We conclude that's a very good example. I don't have time to talk in detail, but I just want to mention this behavior of choosing with a democratic vote. It's exactly like in Islam, a shura. So major decision like this, because if they don't take a proper decision, it might lead to mortality of the entire swarm. And we've seen that in many experiments. When there is no consensus, 50% of the bees are for one location and 50 for the other location, we will have something like the swarm will split, and the queen, there is only one queen, so the queen will decide, I'm not going here or there, and normally the swarm will lose that queen and the swarm will disappear and die. So it's very important to find a consensus, and this is also important that the individualism is not allowed in honeybees, and to build a community and to be a jama'ah, exactly like Nizam al-Khilafa, we have to be around Nizam al-Khilafa and have one leader, like one queen. And this democratic vote is exactly like Nizam al-Shura in Islam. And thank you very much for listening.